Hello, everyone. Thank you for being there today for this webinar. So for doing the introduction, I will let the floor to Eric Géraud.
So hello, everybody. Nice to see you, even if it's on digital. So it's my pleasure to introduce this webinar. So why is Aerospace Valley organizing such a webinar? First of all, because we are doing that in partnership with ESA, and it's been long that we together have a collaboration with ESA through especially the ESA Big Sud program, which is an optional program, but we had the opportunity with CNES in France to be funded and participating to this program. So it's been long now, since 2013, I think, that we collaborate with ESA on ESA Big Sud. And we had the pleasure in the past to host more than 100 companies in this program. And most of those 100 are part of the Aerospace Valley Pole of Competitivity. So it's a way also to have members. So we're really proud of this, having those new companies coming on in the cluster. So the objective of the webinar today is to present to you the member of the network called Space Solution, and to present to you a specific program called Space Alliance, which has been which allows industrial, so big companies, to partner with ESA and support startups. And again, in Aerospace Valley, we really focus on that, because not all the innovation in space business will come from startup, but a lot of innovation will come from them. So it's a pleasure to make the introduction of this new program. And I think we're going to now move to a deep presentation of this Space Alliance program. And I think I'm going to leave the floor to my guests. So we're really proud to have two guests for this webinar who will present the program. So Frank, we are partnering with Frank since years, Head of Innovation and Venture Office in ESA, and Cornelis, who is the head of ESA Space Solution section. And I think that the floor is given to Frank first, isn't it? Okay, thanks. So thank you again, Frank and Cornelis, to be on board this webinar.
Eric, merci bien. Thank you so much for everybody to have us today. And I give you a little bit the overview of why we speak about the ESA Space Solution Alliance. And everybody knows, of course, the partner network of Aerospace Valley, which is very strong and known even outside of France and across Europe about the good connections. And I take a neutral country, which is Switzerland, and we take the incubation center and the ambassadors, which is hosted and managed by the ETH Zurich, the university, the technical university in Zurich. And this is a snapshot of their partner network. And years ago, we saw that ESA has to offer a lot, but our industry has to offer even more. And the idea behind the Space Solution is really where our partners, our startups, our business cases, our projects are working together, where our future customers, where our connections which we really have to join. Why is that so important? Because the Irish have a very nice saying, and the Irish saying, on the shoulders of the giants you see further. Our job as ESA, our job as Aerospace Valley or the CNES is to be the giants and let the children walk, climbing on our shoulders. But there could be more giants. So these partners around here are a good example about partners who could join an alliance to help SMEs, startup, mid-caps to really develop their product, their services, the business cases better. And I think Eric is very right. It's not only about startups and early stage, it's also about later stage. Because by the end of the day, you need the connectivity, also personal, and to push your business to the next round. So, and I'll give you another example. Let me see, maybe, yeah, perfect. This is the network which we have at the moment across Europe, and we have a pretty good coverage. But how amazing would be that a partner from Estonia could also have access to the partner network in France, or a partner from Greece having access to partners in Switzerland. Therefore, we believe there are some countries, and especially in the countries where we have a bigger partner network, where there are some partners or industry which you can do this offer to our entire network and to the entire space family. I'll give you one example, which was a really easy one, where we started to think about it. That was Mublox. Mublox is a spin-off from the ETH Zurich. They're doing pretty good GNSS chips. But if you are a small company, you really have a problem to get their support. They have a developer program, but the prices are not perfect, but it's the technical support. It's not about money. It's really to access the engineering know-how to implement their products in a different new ways and the different products. So this is the reason why in Switzerland we put that together. But how amazing would be if we have that across Europe? And this is something we want to empower, and this is what we call it, the Space Solution Alliance. And it's a very easy process. It's just the exchange of letters. And now the next click, please, and I give you the idea why this is so important. Let me see if that works. Oh, really, you have to help me. Perfect. So these two gentlemen I saw on the satellite Congress in Washington, the beginning of September. On the one side, you see Bulat Altan. He's the CEO of Mynaric, a laser communication company. On the other side is Daniel. He's the CEO of Aerospace, a rocket company outside of Munich. And those companies, and we maybe heard about that, there are two startup consortium winning the competition of the commission related to satellite constellation in the study phase. And these two gentlemen are part of one of these constellations. We want to help them to be really strong in building their future and building the next case of communication devices, like Ines is doing in France. But how would it be great to help them also with more partners, with industry, to make their chance better to be successful in Europe, that we do not really have always to look to the US and say, okay, it's all about Starlink. I think Europe has great companies, great capabilities, great partners, and it's up to us just to bring them together. And this is what it's about, the Space Solution Alliance. We are partners who open the doors and want to become the giants and saying, you can climb on my shoulders, because between doing nothing and purchase a company or doing a majority share, I was saying there's not two, there's 350 shades of gray. So this is how we want to push it, where we enable the deal flow across all ESA programs. And our office is taking care of this, but we share it across the agency. That's it from my side. So it's a really opportunity. It's not about exchange of funds. It's really about exchanging ideas, visions, and the right contacts to our new people and our new endeavors and our new products.
Thank you very much, Frank. So now, Niels, I give you again to share your screen.
Yes, please.
If someone has some question, you can ask question in the chat.
Yes, and now I think you should see my, there we are.
Yeah.
Yes, so yes, thank you very, very much. And I think, yes, Frank provides an excellent introduction. Frank and I have been working already for many, many, many years, more than 10 years, if not more. Well, I think it's almost 15 years, actually, if I think about it. And I've always been involved from a very operational side. So what I'll explain you a little bit is, of course, we all know and love the ESA Big Sud France, but I just want to take one step back, have a bit of a look at the network, which Frank was already mentioning. And then I would like to also have some questions to you. And I would like to start answering the questions from an ESA perspective, and maybe from there we can have a discussion why we work together with our startup companies. Also, as Frank already so eloquently showed, beyond incubation, because after the business incubator, the journey maybe just started. So I think that's a very important element where also the Space Solution Alliance and in general also partnerships between corporates and ESA come into play. So I think, yeah, this I can skip, of course, we all know. So the network map, which Frank just showed, just to sum up at the moment. So we have actually different entities in the network. It's not only ESA business incubation centers. There are also the ESA ambassadors, which really support companies getting into the artist programs. We have innovation brokers or technology brokers, which are really there to link a space and a non-space company either to go back into space or to go downstream and come up with new solutions in a non-space market environment. And this can be also very technical, but it can also be, of course, more related to software. And then indeed, we are partnering. We're partnering. The ESA traditionally partners with many different entities. Of course, our colleagues from the Earth Observation Program have partnership programs like the Third Mission partnerships and things like that. But it's a way, of course, to connect. If we look at the Space Solution Alliance, it's really a way to connect corporate partners, and these can also be institutions, universities, and things like that, but also corporations, to our startup community and to our projects we support. Because again, entrepreneurism is something you can find in a startup company, but it's also something you find in companies, innovative companies we support through our other programs. So that is where we basically talk about when we talk about Space Solution Alliance, is really looking at the possibilities of that network. You all know what, of course, the business incubator is, and ESA Big Sud France is, of course, the approach, how we also see it in ESA, of how we support startup companies during the phase. But okay, what happens beyond? Because all of these startup companies, whether they are in technology or in application, they need to, at the end of the day, be part of a supply chain. In order to be successful. Maybe they have a fantastic product for an end customer, but maybe they're somewhere in the middle of the supply chain. And there's always room for growth vertically or horizontally for these companies. But that really happens after incubation. So one example of, for instance, what we organize in terms of the Space Solution Alliance is to really have a pitching event with, for instance, a corporate industrial player like Thales Alenia, where we really matched 9 companies in our incubation center network, and to see how could they benefit from each other or not. And this resulted in not only getting to know the small companies in such an early state already as a corporate, and potentially an interesting client for the startup company. It also led, of course, to understanding where space can really be of benefit in industry. This resulted also in a number of prizes. So one of the things we're also organizing around that is so-called blitzscaling events, in which a C-level person, or on the director level in our case of ESA, is spending some real quality time, like 1 or 2 hours, with the startup companies, offering a bit of a Rolodex of a C-level person and helping them further. So really the kind of mentoring which comes beyond. So I think the things we need to talk about, because we can of course think that what could be appealing for you, is also to learn today a little bit from you what you expect actually from a corporate partnership with ESA Space Solution Network. So what are you looking for in such a partnership? And also I think we can also extend in general, because of course as Frank said, we want to be of course open to any kind of activity within the agency. So it's very important also to understand, well, if startups is not your thing, then what are you looking for in a corporate partnership with ESA? And then of course, indeed, how do you see the benefits of your organization for the ESA Space Solutions community? So some of the examples Frank gave in terms of what can you bring to the startup companies or to the projects, that would be also something interesting to talk about. And maybe to start the discussion, I wanted to just put on the record a bit why we as ESA like to work with startup companies. It's not just because of we have an incubation program, but it also feeds in our objective that, particularly now, of course, with our new agenda, which is set by our new DG for 2025, we really want to make Europe the commercial market space for new space companies. And new space companies can be companies engaged in space upstream, but it can also be companies using the benefits from space in any kind of terrestrial application. And in order to do that, we want to have access to talent. We want to do fast procurement, fast innovation, and we want to also attract capital. And of course, typically startups, but also innovative firms, yeah, they attract talent, they attract capital. And with our incubation approach and also other programs we have in the agency, we try to be fast in that information. So why do we partner with startups? Well, first of all, is because startups can be fast. So startups, they don't have time to have a lengthy process of a long project or procurement. They really want to be fast right out of the gate. They need to get going. And of course, we have examples where you can see that companies like, for instance, one of our all-time favorites, Building Radar, was able to, in a very short time, grow from 3 people to 30 people, basically addressing the global construction market. And that is a global market from the start. You don't need to be in the United States to actually already use Earth observation pictures and give advice on which projects will finish when and when. For instance, office furniture companies and alikes, they can start providing offers to these project things, but they don't have time to wait. They have to be fast. They immediately have to address the market, something we as ESA cannot do that fast. Then, of course, what is also important is that startup companies have the trait of being able to adapt to certain circumstances. So they are able to pivot, something bigger organizations, such as ESA, have more difficulties with. And a very charming example is a company called Laterne. They made a crowdless app in 2020. Originally, the idea was actually to offer a social, where am I, location based travel app for expats in very difficult areas in the world, in crisis areas where it's sometimes dangerous if you take the wrong turn. And so expats would share the threat and the risks in certain areas of such a country. But then there was COVID in Europe, and actually the entirety of Europe became a crisis area. And so the company pivoted very quickly to say, well, no, we're not going to go to crisis areas across the world, in conflict zones and things like that. We're going to use it here in Europe because we have a crisis area. It's sometimes not safe to be in crowded places, and this app would help people, customers, consumers to find the places where at the moment it is not so crowded if you want to go shopping and whatsoever. So they were able to pivot in a very short time. Another important aspect of entrepreneurship is ownership. If you work in a big firm, you're an employee, and there's maybe the idea of some sort of ownership depending on your manager, but you don't really have ownership. Startup companies really have ownership, so they really need to own what they're doing and really go for it. And this is also an all-time favorite, AppJobber. Yeah, it's a crowd-based service, so basically people can become a member of the app and they can make a couple of euros by going to certain locations in the city to check whether the traffic light is still functioning, whether the commercials are being put in the right place. And so the owner really owns the product, he owns the crowd, he owns the app, he's in full control, and that really gave him a position on the market of strength. And then last, minimal viable product. So don't wait until you have the perfect thing. In ESA, for instance, well, you know, before we launch it, we have to be kind of sure that it really works. That's why we do a lot of testing. Startup companies don't have time. And a famous company, Lilium, yeah, they didn't wait until they had the concept of an aeroplane flying on batteries is ready. No, they of course already started to build the prototype, maybe not manned yet, but theoretically you could man it, and was already flying to demonstrate and not wait until everything is completely. So again, that's also something where as ESA, we cannot be that fast with the minimal viable product. And so to move fast, adapt, ownership, MVP, these are traits which we not necessarily have ourselves, and which we believe that through startup companies, we can get space into that commercialization arena because of the startup companies, because they move fast, they can adapt, they have ownership, and they have minimal viable product. And yeah, that brings to the last point, it's the team. So, you know, at the end of the day, all our startup companies are new people. They're coming from other areas, sometimes very diverse areas. Their backgrounds are diverse, young, old, male, female, technical, business. Everything is sort of coming together, and that inclusiveness is also a trait which at the end of the day is something we very much like. So having said that, I think I will hand back, and yeah, I hope we can have a bit of a discussion also in terms of expectations. What do you expect from startups or from innovative firms which are part of our space solution network? Where are you looking for? Yeah, so let's open the floor.
Thank you very much, Niels. So and Frank. So if you have any question, if you want to add something or to share your point of view, please don't hesitate to do it on the question box. So maybe in the meantime, I have one question. For example, if a company wants to make a partnership with you, how does it work exactly?
Yeah, so as Frank already mentioned, so basically it's an exchange of letter in which you express on which area and in what field you would like to collaborate with ESA. It's not an official document, it's on the basis of best effort. Frank, anything to add?
Yeah, I think this is you pointed out rightly. Yeah, so we don't want to sign a contract because this is always tough. You know, it has to go to legal. So what we have developed is a system which we call exchange of letters. And one letter you sign, I'm François, I'm from this company. I think I would like to offer testing or a software suite or a discounted price. I'm happy to be the main contact part, or this is our developer program, whatever. So it's the list. If we get that, it's good. We will always ask then our local partner, do you know them? Is that the right partner? And or it goes ideally via you, via Aerospace Valley, via the ESA Big. And then we write a letter back and say, yeah, we are happy, and this is our counterpart. Yeah? Because as we all know, business is not between companies, business is between people and people. So now our job is really to write down what ESA has to offer. Yeah, and you need some person to knock on the right door and helps you. And trust me, when I started in ESA, I'm still learning where are the doors and how it works. And this is with the industry the same. If you become a big organization, you are happy that you have a scout, at least a person you can knock on the door, ask him or her who is really responsible for that, and then you have the right handshake and the right person. So this exchange of letter really is collecting this, the offer of the company and the offer of the agency. And with this, we can also share it then to the other network and say, okay, if you need this special program and this special support in a company XYZ, François is the person to contact. But I think so maybe we share you the the letters.
To be clear, the support will be shared with all the networks of the ESA Space Solution network. So all the startups from ESA Space Solution around the Europe can be in touch with François.
Yes, correct. Yes, because indeed the ESA Bigs in the network, they have of course local partners already, yeah. So who are on a very local level support, for instance, the startup companies. But the idea is of course, to have a more global approach in terms of partnerships. So it could be an existing local partner which wants to be upgraded to a Space Solutions Alliance partner. And the scope, so it goes a little bit. It is focused on, let's say, new space entrepreneurship and things like that. But of course, it's not only ESA Bigs who are in our network. It's also our brokers. who work with established firms, and our ambassadors who very much work with the artist programs. So but it always has, of course, this element of new business creation, of entrepreneurship, and that can also be intrapreneurship. But what is really important is that there's really an outcome, right? So, for instance, the example with Thales Alenia is that, yeah, at the end of the day, there are now serious discussions about the supplier a buyer relationship between those companies and Thales. And yeah, like with any partnership, particularly those on the base of best effort, sure, after a year, you have to make your assessment. Is this really, do we get out of it what we really want? And yeah, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Nobody gets hurt. And if it works out, it only makes the case for further collaboration. Yeah.
We have a question on the chat. So it's a company. They said that we just joined ESA Big Scotland, and you sign up the alliance there. And is there a portal where you can view the other member offering requests for partnership and so on?
Sorry, so you mean whether whether the corporate partners amongst each other are aware from each other? Yeah, yes, of course. No, that's absolutely the idea, and that's where we now are in the process of shaping that really, and that's also why we need inputs to, of course, have corporate partner events, to really also have corporate partner relationships, and that the corporate partners from each other know what they do, and maybe out of that also collaborations can emerge. I mean, we definitely want to be also, as ESA, we're an organization of coordination. So if the partnerships also bring benefits between the partners, only better.
One of the points is, I think, which is a pity, that the partnerships ESA has are very punctual. So it's just for one area. And we know all that in business, there's a nice English word for the share of wallet. We want to share really these capabilities the partners have, giving to ESA across the entire ESA pipeline. So, and when we're looking, I know we speak with Axia on one side, we speak with NEL, we speak with BayWa, we speak with the automotive, but it's too functional, and it's a pity. We really want to share these partnerships amongst the startups, the SMEs, and the other partners, and which is easy for us, because when I say, for example, Francois is the perfect in cloud application, then we say, Francois, who in the organization we can put on the cybersecurity event X, or ESA has the industry space days now this week, who in the organization can speak about this subject. So it's so very important to have these point of view, these account managers on both sides to enable that and foster this collaboration. So this is why we want to bring it into a framework, as well as that make it really international. So that's the focus on it.
So
other questions?
Simple way to be partner with ESA.
Yeah, and I mean, look, and that's also where we still have to figure it out a little bit together with newly partners. Like that's why we organized the event with Thales, or we did, of course, with Munich, a risk insurance company, something in the past as well. Also to discover a little bit, you know, how this partnership precisely work. What are the partners really looking for? Because of course, if it's about, yeah, I want to have access to ESA's new CubeSat development. Yeah, of course, we have programs for that. So then, of course, you just have to subscribe to the program. But the partnership is, of course, something which is a little bit, let's say, not so, it does not always need to be that concrete. And particularly if I look at the Space Solution Network, I don't have a program for getting a startup company collaborating with a big corporate partner. Sure, when there's a beautiful relationship coming out of that, and both of them would like to apply to one of our programs, sure, but then again, it's a more formal route. But the more the informal part, that, you know, people just speak their mind and say, hey, maybe I can give you some advice, or maybe I can help you with this, or maybe like the example of U-Blocks, I have some chipsets which I cannot sell because they're not good enough, but they're good enough for your startup prototype. Here, I can give them you at an extremely discounted rate. that really helps. That's not a formal program in which I can offer that, but it's a relationship that can emerge between a corporate partner and a startup company in this example.
I think when you're looking to software industry and cloud, it's pretty easy. So this is where we speak, of course, with Dassault System, we speak with Deutsche Telekom, Amazon Web Services, because they have developed programs. So ideally that the family of SMEs and startups and other cases which we support get quick access. That's on the one side. But on the other side, there's enough capabilities, if it's prototyping, if it's production, if it's maintenance. This is even on legal service, which I think we could need support. And therefore, it depends pretty much on the company. So in other terms, we try to arrange not maybe the marriages, but friendships. Yeah, marriages maybe too much, but friendships, and it's the tech Tinder, if you want to have it, where we arrange really the right collaborations to make both successful. Because if you're a bigger company, we all know that we become a little bit bigger as a company, you become less innovative because you cannot take so much risk. Startups can do. So on the one side, it's the flesh blood for maybe the R&D, and this is the reason why we speak with automotive. Automotive looks at the moment to connectivity to satellite, and they're looking to. So, but instead of doing these one-to-one connections, we would like to have end-to-end connections and empower both sides. The existing industry, and ESA is developing this program now under Space Solution XL, where the SMEs, the mid-caps, which are even a couple of thousand people, companies really work with the industry together and together hammer a dent into the universe.
Okay, and we have another question from a startup who have been incubated for 4 years in the ESA. And here's a question. They are currently in fundraising, and they want to know if there are any tools at ESA for equity.
Yeah, when we're looking, ESA itself has no own limited partnership, because that is the tool to invest into a venture capital fund. And, we had that once and we failed because one of our investors has not fulfilled their contract, and that was over 10 years ago. However, what we have something, and before this meeting we discussed it with the colleagues from Aerospace Valley. We have something called the ESA Investment Forum. So it's not our funding, but we try also there bringing together the investment community. We just this morning I got an email from the European Business Angel Network. So it depends very much on which stage you are. If you're on the early stage, pre-seed funding, a couple of 100,000 until the million, below a million, I think your local is a big take care, because that is where you get it. When you go in higher ranges and you go around A, B, this is drop us an email. We have a team looking to that, and we try to connect the investment community. But we are not doing the fundraising. Yeah? We try to help, because all of our projects are like our nephews, and we want to help them, of course, raising and becoming bigger. So this is not only the funding, but it's also the good news behind. It's the marketing, and I'm happy to connect to what extent, and also tell you which are valuable venture capitalists or asset class managers and which not. So just contact me, and frank.salzgeber.esa.int, just my name with a point, and at esa.int, and I connect you with the team who's looking to these investor relations.
Yeah, and I think so. Yeah, investors is one thing, but also, having a good launching customer, you can also see as an investor. So yeah, people, entities who are really willing to, to be that first paying customer, even if it's still quite risky. Yeah, that's also a form of investment, which is then very practical in immediately already building a customer supplier relationship, for instance. And that can go both ways, because startups can also be, of course, your customer, but the other way around as well. You can also be the customer of the startup.
And do not forget that ESA is a very small area, but our colleagues in the Commission, if it's the EIB, it's the EIC especially, we have a lot of companies received bigger funding tickets from the EIC, and I think they do an amazing job. So I think money has no smell. Take what you get, especially out of Europe. Your local ISABIC should help. If not, maybe look into the delegation, look to the colleagues of the Commission within Horizon 2020, in the Cassini calls it's now. So there, and then as I said, the ESC is investing massively in manpower, also bringing more capabilities to support ventures in that direction. So I think there was never more money into the market than now. Trust me, when we started dealing with startups, it was tough. And if you say venture capital and startup companies, the people thought we were crazy. So nowadays they don't think that we're crazy. So it's now really the time, and it was never easier to get money than now.
Yeah, and what we also see is that the tickets get higher. So the amount of investment deals is in the last, I think, 2 or 3 years around the same, but the value of each deal has increased, I believe. But Frank, you know that better than me.
Therefore, I think we have spark. So I think money is there. It's up to you if get the right pitch and have the right business model, and then we start with the local ISABIC, and then of course if you want to have money from other people, it's your show. Nobody will give it for free. You have to run. You have to. Entrepreneurship is a decathlon. You have to do many things at the same time. But our job is, all of us three and the colleagues, is to help you. Yeah? But by the end of the day, it's your company. It's your fight.
Okay, so we have another question. So we read it. So we are an innovation hub working as intermediary with non-space company and supporting space-driven research entities to design spin-off and business case. They are not an incubator, and they would like to know if this kind of services are eligible or interested for you.
Yes, and I think Nils mentioned that we have 1,200 cases startup supported. We have another 1,000 business cases and business application. I think you have a lot of cases which you would like to add space, and we have a special program for that. So companies which are existing to want to use space, that's the business application. So we try really to see what is the need of the customers, and then we try to help you which is the right program to support you. Address it to us, and then we see if it's the alliance, if it's another partnership. We have something similar with a company for energy at the moment in Germany, which is looking to in that direction, which is intermediate. Yes, so let's be creative. Just as I said in the beginning, it's not an exchange of funds. How we can be together successful.
Yeah, it's an interesting question also in the sense that yeah. So when would it become then interesting for a partnership? So yeah, if it's purely like I create a lot of spin-off and I would like to fuel those spin-offs, yeah, then of course we have programs. We have the artist program if it's very much focused on the application side. We have demonstrator calls if it's really hardcore. From our commercialization department, we have of course technology demonstration calls to fuel it, and then of course if you want to go into space, we have our normal programs. So my question back would be, what do you hope to achieve with a partnership other than what you would achieve through applying for a program? So is it like working alongside with our startup companies, or trying to form a new consortium? Because now you know the startup companies, and you can maybe see how to link your spin-offs to a startup company, for instance.
Okay, so I will tell you if there was some complement information. So we have another question, very concrete, of a company in Netherlands. They are started to work with the ISABIC Noordwijk, and they want to know if they want to work with the ISA at a general level, who they have to contact. With the point of contact.
Nils is the easy one. Huh? We know both the name. We all three
okay.
the name.
Yeah.
So I will put you in touch with the person with the question.
Yes, please.
Okay, I think we have no more question.
But is there anybody, I would like to hear some thoughts from the audience. So I'm sure that you're also engaged in other partnerships and things like that, or maybe you run your own partnership initiative. So I would be really interested in why, when does it make sense for you to give you, let's say, to give you an example. We had already a long time ago an interesting discussion with Shell, and Shell said, yeah, no, the deep mining, these are all challenging things, and yeah, of course you would like to be in touch with ESA, but actually the question they had is like, but can you explain better why ESA would benefit from this? Because if it's about engineering, as Shell, I can find engineer anywhere. So I would love to work with ESA together, but I want to know what's in it for ESA. Now, I already told you in my presentation, of course, we are looking very much into the fact that we can then really accelerate the startup companies, link them to follow-up businesses, and that also accounts for projects we run through our programs, which are supported by the brokers and the ambassadors. But is there anything from your side where you would say, like, well, for me, it would really make sense if, I don't know, what do you expect from it? What it would bring you actually? I mean, it's not only about what we get out of it, it's also what you get out of it, right? Any suggestions? Strengthening the position?
In general, contact us. So this is there's no crazy idea. This we learned in all our efforts we're doing together with startups, industry, SMEs, and so on. We are pretty open to discuss. And my good advice is always, when you're working with the ESA BIC, it's a giving and taking. So you also have to, on the dock of knock on the door of our colleagues in Aerospace Valley. Don't expect that the stuff will just flow out. So if you need something, knock on the door, kindly ask, and normally then our colleagues will help you. And this is the same for Nordweg. And if you have an idea what we can do together, prompt us, test us, and then we have a look. So this in innovation, we learn to be super pragmatic. And if it's not failing, we try to do it better. And if it's failing, we try to do better. It's not that somebody has to be penalized or it's something wrong. It's part of the game when we do early things. And now it's really the time to also to shape that. So it's not that we have done that the last 50 years with the Space Solution Alliance, but it was putting together when we're looking to the requests from our partners, the BICs, the brokers, ambassadors, and also the companies. And well, that would be pretty cool. Can we have that more? Can we have that stable in our framework? And this is the reason why we're hunting now for partners and new friends.
Yes, and we have the question that can we share your presentation, your slide with the person Niels? Can I send? So there are different person who ask me for your contact details. So maybe I can send it after the webinar in order they can get in touch with you.
Yes, yeah, and we can make available the presentation, no problem.
Okay, perfect. So for now, except a question about your contact details, I have no more questions. So I think you've been very clear and interesting, because they want to be
super unhappy if we do not get a lot of requests. This is something how to find the new partners, the new square heads in the round holes, and to shape a little bit, because I think we in Europe are better than most of the people think. So, and it's up to us all now to demonstrate.
Yeah.
Yes. And do you? We have a question about that. Do you think to make a website about ESA Space Alliance to highlight who are the partners and so on?
It's already pre-planned. Now we only have to focus content. So it's up to the alliance and the new partners to be placed there. So for 2 partners, we don't do it. When we have the first 5 or 10 partners, then we do it.
Yeah, because as Frank said, this is also an invitation to indeed help shape also a little bit how it's going to work, and then of course we can put on the web the exact messaging. In the end, it's not just for alliance partners; it's also by alliance partners, so that we really have something to create something, co-create something to create together. Ergo, thank you for organizing the webinar, because that's of course how we can start.
Yes, you're welcome. It was a pleasure to have you on this webinar. So thank you very much again. And so another question about the details. So I will share the presentation and I will share the contact with everyone. So
and maybe share also, if you like, this letter of exchange. We send you the letter of exchange, because this is the base, so that you can at least sneak in.
Okay, you have a template for the letter? Okay, please send me the letter and I will send it to everyone with the presentation. Okay, so thank you again, and we keep in touch with everyone.
Yes, looking forward to the interactions.
Yeah, bye bye. Good afternoon.
See you.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.